television.
The show is coming, baby, and it's gonna be just so different.
Snub. Snub.
The show is coming. The show is coming.
Snub.
Gonna be so different. Yes, we are gonna be so different.
She was seeing too, at exactly the same time. She never mentioned you when she was round at mine. But when you were round at hers, you always made a scene. Cause you only had ears for descriptions of the strangers she was seeing. And what she saw in me was only what attracts the many girls I see behind their lovers' backs. What she saw in you, I could never work it out. There was just one thing she found that turned you on to talk about. The inexplicable charisma of the rival. You said, describe for me the hairstyle of the devil. Is he passionate? Don't answer. Is he detached? Don't answer that. Please you in a sack. Shut up, don't answer back. Just tell him I'm dying to meet him. She called me up. She said she'd had enough of all the paranoia you mixed up with your love. We spent the night together. She woke me up at dawn and called an all-night taxi. And when you came, I was gone. You'd find my comb behind her chest of drawers. She said she'd slept alone, but the bed was full of hairs. And when you matched them up beyond the shadow of a doubt, the hairs belonged to Beelzebub. You began to puzzle out the inexplicable charisma of the rival. You said, describe for me the hairstyle of the devil. Does he make you laugh? Does he earn a lot? Don't answer that. Does he dress you up in black? Shut up, don't answer back. Just tell him I'm dying to meet him. The inexplicable charisma of the rival, with the luck and the hairstyle of the devil. And so you gaze at the people all about. In every stranger's face, you try to make me out. And when you meet me finally, your horns will lock with mine. For the beast rules with rivalry, as the clock rules with time. For the beast rules with rivalry, as the clock rules with time.
Formed in 1979, after 10 years, The Fall is still one of the most singular and uncompromising of bands. Snub went to Liverpool to film The Fall, recording a new song, not yet released, the last of their music from their collaboration with the Michael Clark Dance Company, and talked to Mark E. and Brix Smith about Michael Clark, The Fall and Adult Net. When did The Fall actually first start?
79.
And Brix, when did you get involved?
83.
So how did that happen?
Well, I it wasn't an intentional thing. Mark sort of has to tell you because it's...
No, it's just, I was in Chicago after a concert and was in the singles bar, something I was there,
Smart
drunk
bar.
out of my mind, and she came up to me and said, you know, I don't like your records much, but what are your lyrics about? You know, so we just got on from there. We got married.
No, that's not what I said. I said,
What?
I said,
Tell
you
him
were,
what
I
he's
said,
actually said.
well, it was like, I thought you guys were brilliant, but I can't understand your lyrics, and they irritate me because I can't understand them. That's what I
It
meant
was
to
like,
say.
it was great. The great thing was it was where the St. Valentine's Day Massacre was, this club. When we got married, believe it or not, I didn't even know she could play the guitar. So the idea was that she should pursue a separate thing, you know. And so she started sort of standing in, didn't you? Once or twice when we needed like lead guitar, and it worked so well, we went with it. But the original idea was that she would do her own thing. But then she got sidetracked by me, press ganging her into the fall, you know.
So as the adult net now sort of seems to have developed to a point where it's like got a life of its own.
Oh, totally, absolutely. Say if I write songs for the fall or for the adult net, it's totally different. The fall, I write because I know how everyone works in it and what the sound is like and what, I mean, in the fall I'm a more aggressive person, more hypnotic person, more, almost more humorous and cynical, really. And in the adult net, it's just like, basically from my soul.
And some people might think it was quite unusual that the Fall play with like a dance company, thinking that maybe you would be like critical or a bit down on anything that was seen as so arty or even camp or something like dance.
Yeah, well, we were lucky because I did a play like about a year before, so I'd gone through all that sort of stuff. Well, my joke is, you know, I did a play about the Pope, so I thought I'd do something about William of Orange, you know.
How did you actually sort of script all the material? Did you actually have to research a lot?
Well, we were on tour, so what we used to do was, I did a bit of research, but I don't believe in a lot of research, because I think the way I write, sometimes you can find it by intuition, you know. It's funny because a lot of the sort of presumptions I had about William of Orange, I actually did more research when the ballet had finished than before, you know. So a lot of the songs were actually quite true about him.
But it was like a mad time though, because we were on tour in America, and what we would do is like write a song and do it in the sound check, and like Federal Express the cassette back to Michael Clark, and then he would choreograph it, and it was just like really, we didn't know what it was going to be like. And
It's
then,
a great way to run it.
yeah, it was cool.
Because a lot of these ballets and theatres, what they do, they rehearse for like about 9 months. And, you know, then they do it, and it's like crazy. As we just go in there, as you just saw, you know, that's the way I like to work.
Thresh it out.
Well, not thrash it out,
No, I
just,
mean,
if you do your preparation properly, you can just do it.
But with fall is really good because there's so much spontaneity as well.
It's not as easy as it looks.
Shout! There's a dance that is pure hell. Enter at your peril. Take 5 dead big steps to a stroll. Act like you just got out of jail. You must be Descendent. Shout! Come back here! Come back here! Turn left side and shout, come back here! And hardtail it right out of there! You are now descendants! You are now descendants! Check, clack, deadbeat descendants. I make out your head is in a bell, and you got a man on your trail, and you are descendants of a vicious criminal. Flag, dog, chick, deadbeat descendants. Dog, dog.
You've been in the music industry for a long time, and you've also had relationships with quite a lot of different labels, so presumably you know...
Yeah, I'm going for that Guinness Book of Records, yeah.
Does that frustrate you, that side of being in a band?
No, I quite like it, because it keeps your mind off being a sort of insular sort of artist type, you know. You know, it means when you write lyrics and things, when I write lyrics and things, I really enjoy doing it. And there's that pressure to do it as well. Rather than as I was just sat around on my arse, you know, thinking about what next song, you know. And that's a lot of the problem with music as well. You know, I think it's 1989, you know. The Victorian British artist is dead, you know. That's where you've got to be. You've got 6 people to pay. Keep eating.
Membranes.
Moss Side's Story is the startling and evocative solo LP debut of Barry Adamson, ex of Magazine and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. Snub took extracts from the album and shot footage in Manchester to convey some of the record's atmosphere. Barry Adamson takes up the story.
Here in Britain, police have for 2 years been listening to rumours among the West Indian community that the Yardies are operating behind the scenes in several major cities. Police don't know how many, but they suspect there are still relatively few.
There are certainly Yardies in this country at the moment, and they are involved in extortion, they're involved in drugs, they're involved in vice, and we see it as something in the nature of a cancerous growth.
Out there, I had the desire to score music for a motion picture. I'd been around a while, and it was getting too late to wish I'd been classically trained or attended film school to achieve this. So I had to draw strength from the fact that my written contributions to the bands I'd been in were usually of a somewhat thematic nature anyway, thus keeping the wheels of my dream firmly in motion. As a bass player, I traveled the world twice over, perhaps even then subconsciously searching for some kind of subject matter that would spark off the necessary inspiration to fully express the area of creativity I was most impassioned about. It was when I returned home to Manchester, to the Moss Side streets I'd known since my childhood, that things fell into place. Here, right on my own doorstep, was one of the most contrasting, intense, exciting and threatening of filmic backdrops.
You have nothing to worry about, Mr. Adamson. I promise. I won't breathe a word to anyone.
As a vehicle, I observed and used the confines of Moss Side's underworld, noting particularly the movements of a character who was gripped by fear and paranoia, a virtual prisoner of his own mind, desperately looking for a seemingly impossible way out. Here was the impetus to musically stage a provocative, visually stimulating, 3-act tale of one man's search for lost identity and of his eventual quest for beauty, truth, and freedom.
Much has already been written about Birdland, a band yet to release a record. This is a sneak preview of their debut single, Hollow Heart. Almost completely underground, the UK hardcore scene is huge, committed and not without commercial success. The attractions and energy of hardcore are best sampled live. This is Napalm Death and Extreme Noise Terror.
Burn every year. We step through your back and send your ass murder!
You're not going to just listen to the music on its own, and, you know, it's not going to, I don't know, change your life in any way. It's not going to inspire you to suddenly abandon all sexism or anything. But on the other hand, I mean, it's people buy albums for music, and you know, hopefully when they buy the album, you know, they won't just ignore the lyrics. They'll kind of pay attention to it.
I think like the music in itself is saying something, really. I mean, it's actually questioning what music is and what music isn't.
I'd say sort of.
Well, obviously, I mean, you just, you know, listening to our music, you can tell we've got something to get out of our system.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know, some things are amiss if we play, you know, in this kind of style.
The thing is, music, I mean, that term, I mean, people, I'd say like a large majority of people wouldn't describe what we're doing as music.
Yeah, some people seriously think we just go into a studio and make a racket for half an hour.
We get on stage and like, you know what I mean, give it full speed and guitars going and Lee on his vocals.
And most mainstream metal bands who can like Van Halen and stuff, I can't imagine them going to the studio for the first time and playing what we do straight off. Really, I just can't imagine that.
A lot of people have been saying, you know, Napalm Death, you know, they've rejected all musical standards and things like that. And we haven't really. I mean, they're not for us. You know, that's not the style we want to play. You know, we're never going to be melodic. But on the other hand, you know, we are prepared to listen to melodic stuff. You know, we don't consider what we do to be, the be-all and end-all of music by any means.
No.
It's just, it's the style that suits us. You know, that's what we want to convey through the music. So
yeah, I mean, yeah. Anyway, we don't look too far ahead. Anyway,
we just play to our strengths rather than our weaknesses. You know, we can't do melody, so we don't do it.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I'd say we probably could, but.
Yeah, we could, but I mean, you know, we realise that this is the style that suits us best.
Yeah.
And we're sticking to it.
Together as the Breakfast Crew stay up late for you, introducing the nation's #1 newsreader, Rod Mackenzie.
And among tonight's hot headline acts, we've got Chanel and Fuzzbox.
But first tonight, they're live in the Top of the Pop studio with Round and Round. Down there, it's New Order!
Thinking what you've done to me.
Robert Lloyd has been one of those great but overlooked talents. Formerly of the Prefects and the Nightingales, Lloyd has just landed himself a deal with a major label. This is another one of those Snub exclusive previews of unreleased material, The Part of the Anchor.
Not so fast that he could stop to thank her. All that child and all that labor and complaining from the name that swings us from the part of the anchor. Someone needs to play the part of the anchor. American, he even put the BT up a portrait of a legend of Polanka. He's into hazy faces and he visits foreign places and he knows the woman's power of the anchor. The power and the glamour are the roles that you can live, but you will always pass on work 'cause you're a girl. And on that stage you stay the place decided by the man, and the woman plays the part of the anchor.
Formed right at the start of the punk explosion in Britain in the mid-70s, Wire quickly differentiated themselves from the pack. Snub somehow managed the rare feat of marshalling all 4 members of Wire together to reflect on their past and present and preview their new single.
The motivation to begin with was just to form something which played once for you know, the classic art school party thing, and it didn't work very well, but there was a seed had been sown that actually was possible, and perhaps an interesting thing to do. It wasn't nothing to do with Wire. It sort of formalised itself in a very slow way, with no intention of actually playing in public, really, like, you know, most things. I think, and even when it had formalised into a Wire, a version of Wire, we still didn't really have that intention that we would make records and do concerts until it became obvious that we ought to. One day we just said, well, perhaps we should show this to people.
At the beginning, it was, I think, the kind of pre-Wire period, the kind of the seeds were very much about three rhythm guitars and singing, and it was very, very kind of chaotic, kind of very aggressive. In the post-George period, there was this sudden honing down into something which may not have been about musicianship, but it was razor sharp, and it wasn't punk rock. All of a sudden, it had a kind of darker quality, and it also had a quality of pastiche. It's always been intuitive. Yeah. It's always been like that. There's always been that slightly humorous edge to it as well. It is quite funny the way it's developed, but I mean, there was one thing interesting happened when we heard Pink Flag. When we actually heard it when it was recorded, we suddenly realised that we've made something. And then we also realised that we didn't need to make that one again. And that was a fantastic liberation. You know, we all flew off in different directions, but it was a great moment of a sudden realisation that we'd actually done it. We'd done something, and it was different.
I think your perception changed as well when we actually did play in front of people. What seemed to be ideal at the time was thrash, thrash, thrash for 3 minutes. People could get up a large amount of steam pogoing, when in actual fact, because of the arrangements that we had, things stopped after 20 seconds, which was a perfectly natural arrangement for us, but this wasn't altogether appreciated.
They would be caught in mid-post.
You f***ing bastards, what do you think you're doing, you know?
Because a lot of your songs actually seem to be about things like the sort of degeneration or the degeneracy of mass culture.
I think one can't help but notice it, and it's bound to leak through in the writing in a very natural way, rather than actually saying I'm going to write about. Whenever you start looking at something which is even optimistic, you suddenly, the deeper one thinks about it, or the more you plug into the subject, even in a unconscious way, not researching it as such. The darker side of it tends to be more important than the optimistic side.
Mattress beds, sunburn jets, bright marks, smart beds. Strikers like pitchbacks, E-tip pit slides. Dress pipes, demon shrinks, wet drunk dead drinks. Stretch clubs, muddled spikes, draw skin, black sharks. Money spies, but belong, kidnapping those on the farm.
everything is in there. There's all that kind of comment. You know, Kidney Bingos is a piece of social commentary. It's social commentary much more like a documentary than a piece of banner waving.
I think we still retain an innocence which might or might not have been present pre-1980. I think we still approach the work in a very open and innocent way. I'm not sure whether that's to do with us as personalities, individual personalities, or it's because it's the way that Wire works. You know, we have to, in other ways, empty our pockets before we start thinking about being an ensemble.
The buzz in the ear is something which annoys you. I mean, I wish, you know, I was just trying to focus on this, but they won't stop that noise, you know. I mean, the noise can also refer to music. I wish they'd stop doing it, for Christ's sake. They just turn it off.
What you must stop, but you such a way. This is the night, here in the day. One thing remains perfectly clear. It's the buzz, buzz, buzz in the drum of the ear. See, sound, sound. Buzz, 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 buzz in the eardrum. See, sound, sound. Buzz, 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 buzz in the eardrum. Now you live in the world of the wave, and you scratch your names on the walls of the cave. Instincts never leave you perfectly clear. There's always a buzz, buzz, buzz in the drum of the ear. See, sound, sound. Buzz, 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 buzz in the eardrum. See, sound, sound. Buzz, 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 buzz in the eardrum. Marco Polo has lost his way. Louisville Lit has nothing to say. One thing remains perfectly clear. The buzz, buzz, buzz in the drum of the ear. See, sound, sound. Buzz, 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 buzz in the eardrum. See, sound, sound. Buzz, 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 buzz in the eardrum. Turns out very nice. Hannibal is afraid of mice. One thing remains perfectly clear. It's the buzz, buzz, buzz in the drum of the ear. See, sound, sound. Buzz, 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 buzz in the eardrum. See, sound, sound. Buzz, 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 buzz in the eardrum.
From Manchester, Stone Roses have so far concentrated on breaking home ground with their ecstatic pop. Crowds queue in the rain, concerts sell out, and audiences know all the words to their songs. On the verge of achieving national recognition, this is Stone Roses live at the Hacienda.
ignore the rest of the world and concentrate on breaking Manchester, because we want to be the biggest band in our street.
She does, she gives, and all that she's got, until the sky turns green and the grass is several shades of blue. Every member of Parliament trips on blue. Stuck to my cheek, and she knows what this must be. She wakes up with the sun. She asks me what is all about, as she gave me more than she thought she should. Wakes up with the sun.